Okay, all right. So good morning. Welcome to another class for the AI class, right? Today we're going to learn basic Python. I think it might be this class and the next class we're going to maybe take some time, spend some time to learn about the language itself before we go into the AI and machine learning itself. All right. So you can follow through the file that I sent you, but for me, I like to type it myself because that makes me teach slower, and maybe it's more it's more engaging, I guess, if I type it live. So I'm gonna create the new file just for myself, like this. You don't have to do it. I'm gonna do c1.ipynb, right? And typically, if you create a new file, it's just gonna be a blank file. So I'm just create a code, right? And you can start doing Python, right? So basically, Python is you can think about it as a calculator. So you gotta be able to do this, man. 1 + 1, right? If you cannot do 1 + 1, then you just forget it, right? So I'm gonna run it, and then choose my virtual environments, and if everything goes correctly, I should be able to see 2. So yeah, worked, right? Very cool, right? If that's so I guess normal mathematical operations worked, like multiplication worked, right? Division should work too. Or I don't know if you know this, modulo 5% 2. That means that you find the remaining after division. เขาเรียกว่าอะไรนะเศษส่วนเหลือเศษก็คือif 5 modulo 2, it's going to be 1 because you divided 5 by 2, the remaining after division is 1. So that, I don't know if that, and the other thing that might throw you off a little bit is this one, 2 to the power of 2. So normally you do the caret, ไอตัวที่เป็นสามเหลี่ยมนะ for power, but for in Python it's going to be the double star or double asterisk. So that will be the power. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4, right? And then all the operation with the parentheses is the same. Like if you do the parentheses, 2 minus 1 divided by 2, that means that anything in the parentheses is calculating first, and then everything kind of follow the division and multiplication order of operations. So I guess this is not really anything Python, but the same convention would apply if you were to use like the calculator. It would be the same, okay? So if that is the only thing this Python can do, that would be very useless. So another thing that you can do is to store the data into a variable, right? The concept of variable in programming is completely different from the variable in mathematics. In mathematics, variable is something we don't know. In computer language, variable is a container that contains something. It's something that we actually know because it already contains stuff, right? So basically, if I say A, and I want it to be a variable, that means that A has to contain something. That means I have to put something in. So I'm going to put equal, that means assignment, or put something in here. So I use A equal 3. If I were to run this, that means that I have already created a variable, a container called A. And inside A, that should be number 3, right? The statement on top doesn't print anything because there's nothing to show. But you can just simply type A in the box below. And if you were to run the second box, then you should be able to see the content of A, right? And there's nothing to prevent you from coming up with another container like B equal 10, right? And if I were to run the top box, right, and then I come to the second box, and I were to run it, yeah, no surprise, not surprisingly, you should see 10, right? See, if I were to keep doing this, then actually this variable is already contained inside the memory. The memory is just a location where you store things temporarily. If you were to quit this program, A and B actually gone. So right now it's in the RAM, so random access memory. If you want to see what's in your memory right now, you can type who, which is kind of a weird way to say, right? Who. And you can see that there's A and B. I think who is actually not the best way to do it. It's who with the S. And that's one, I think it's a better way to see. So you can see that right now in my memories, I have A and B with the type. Okay, we'll talk about type later. but you can see that the values are in here. Okay, so if I were to clear everything, and by clear everything, if I were to do this, there is something called restart kernel. If I were to restart, and it's just going to ask me if I really want to do it, because I'm going to lose all my memory, right? I want to say restart, okay? Okay, once I restart everything, and see if I come back to this particular box, which say who, nothing's, it's blank, right? Because I just restart everything, so everything's gone. I haven't really created anything yet. So if I want to create everything again, I kind of have to come back to the top execution box, run this one, and then if I go back to the third one, yeah, you should see your own stuff. So one of the things that can throw you off when you run a long code is that if you were to clear something and then you were executing the box that are way below, that might not work because something on top hasn't been run yet. So the best button that I always use is run all, because this one kind of ensure that all the steps that it's need for the execution box at the bottom, it has all the memory or the containers that they need. So if I were to run all, then it works every time. So make sure, so this is something that you do a lot, just run everything, right? And if you think that if you see a lot of output, another thing that you can see is clear output. This one's gonna make sure that the output is gone, but then the memory is still there. If I clear the output and I were to run this thing again, then you can see that it's still here. So restart, clear everything. If you clear output, it only clear the output, but the memory is still remains. Okay, that's an operation that you can do. Usually, I don't use this statement basically at all, because in Jupyter Notebook, there's a better way to do. You can go to here, go to terminal and new terminal. So let me show you a better way to see the variable. Go to the terminal, and you should be able to see Jupyter right here. Check this out. It's already here. So this is better because I can just do this, right? I have the variable tabs open. And if I were to have more variable, like c equal 20, look at this. Much better, right? Comes up automatically. So this is what I do. I don't type who with s ever for like many years, right? I just use this variable tab to keep track of stuff in my memory. Okay. If you cannot find it, let me show you again. You can close it, no problem, right? If you wanna trigger it on, go to terminal, new terminal, okay? And look for the tab called Jupyter, and you should be able to see the variable, okay? That you might need to like minimize or expand some tabs, okay? Right? Okay, so once we have variables, then things are easier because we can also use them. So I guess from my example, I use C. And then I want to set C equal to A plus B. So if I do this, then the program is going to replace A with the content inside. So it's going to be 3 plus 10. So if I were to run it, right? But again, if I were to do assignment like this, nothing is going to get printed. So you got to have to type C at the box below like that. Should be C equal to 13 as expected. Or if you want to, I guess, have a better control of how you print, you can even come up with a new line and say print C. Right? If you do this, then it's going to print every time you run the box. So like that, right? It runs every time. Okay, pretty good. All right, so this is typically what the calculator can do. Like I think most of the calculator you can store number, pretty common, right? But for programming language, number is not enough. We need to do something else. For example, string. Okay, so I can do. So for me, I'm just gonna clear everything, right? And then I'm gonna restart just to everything clean, right? I can do A equal to a string. So a string is the characters. So I guess I can do I'm fine, right? I'm fine, like that. This is possible. If I were to go to my terminal and go to Jupyter, you can see that my variable is now called str. You see the type right here? str is the abbreviation for string, and the value is I'm fine, right? Okay, and then I can do another string, right, like this. And here I'm going to show you that when you do the string, you can do double quotes or single quotes. It's okay. So I can do single quotes and say this is important, like, right? Okay, I can do that, no problem. And the flexibility that you can choose between this is that sometimes if you want the quotes to be inside the string, to be part of the string itself, then you might want to mix match. You might want to choose the enclosing quotes or double quotes accordingly. For example, as I show you in my example, if I want the double quotes to be in the string itself, for example, I want to do this. This one works, right? Because this thing is already inside the, I guess, the outside quotes. So whatever inside is actually the part of the strings itself. So if I were to do this, then you can see that in my string we have the double quotes as a part of the strings. But if you want if you want single quotes to be part of the strings, then the enclosing thing should be the double quotes. So it's actually the other way around. So I can change this to be double quotes, right? If I can type correctly, and this thing double quotes, and then I can change. See, right now it's confused. Like, what are you guys? Like, what are you doing? It doesn't understand, right? But I can change this to be single quotes, and then it actually it doesn't understand. Yeah, it doesn't understand because I have this T right here. Yeah, it should work. Okay. So right now you can see that my string has single quotes as the part of the string. Do you mind open the door for your friend, please? Okay, so that's the string. Okay, and one of the things that you might be surprised is that string can also have some operations too, because you can do C equal A plus B. This is kind of weird, right? Normally, like, how do you add string together, right? And what happened is that it's going to concatenate. Concatenate แปลว่าต่อกันนะก็ you can do some operation, but I don't think subtraction would work. If I try it right now, it's probably going to throw me error. Yeah, it doesn't understand what subtraction means. But plus addition for string works. Actually, multiplication works too. I can do A times 5. What do you think it means? It's kind of interesting. It's going to do just copy itself that many times. So you can try. Division doesn't work. It doesn't make sense, right? So this is the design by the language creator. So there's nothing. I guess there's nothing universal about it. Like, some language allow addition, some does not. Usually a higher language will allow some mathematical operation on the strings. It's just the way that they're designed. Okay. So let's try kind of string concatenate, right? If I want to make a sentence, which is something that you might want to do when you print something, so I can do something like this. I can do sentence, right? Equal. So maybe I can do name, right? I do name equal win. That's the name, right? And then I do money equal 10 USD, right? So if I want to construct a sentence USD, okay? If I want to construct a sentence from these two variables, I can do something like this, right? I can do name, right? Plus. And then I can also add another string. It doesn't need to come from variable. It can just be like a string like this. So has, right? And then this much money, okay? If I were to do this and I run it, you can see that it kind of works, but it's not really the right sentence because it doesn't have space. So the thing about string concatenation in a sentence is that in English, you probably need space, right? If you want space, you need to give it space. So like that. So if you leave it the space in between the word had, then if I were to run it, then you can see that, let me just clear everything. It's too cluttered. I don't like this one. So comments in Python is the hashtag. Okay, but then a nice key, I guess, shortcut is to go for control and /. So this one I use it a lot because sometimes I just want to comment the whole blocks. I can just toggle comments like this. So this is much faster than going into each line and type hashtags. Okay. So if I were to do this and I need to restart my kernel, I want to clear everything, right? And then I run it again. So my window should be much more save some real estate. Okay, right? See, this is even not the right sentence, right? It needs full stops. If you want full stops, then you gotta give it full stop. So you can see that if you want to construct a sentence, it becomes quite tedious, right? Like in order to get the full correct, actually USD should be in front, right? That's how we write, like that. Yeah. But that's I guess the easiest way to do like sentence constructions in strings. So far so good? Okay. So but I would just throw this out right away because when I want to print something and I want to write, like in, for example, a sentence like this, I usually don't do this addition operation because it's kind of hard to keep track of, like, I need space, I need the dot, and things like that. So a better way is something called f-string. So this is a little more advanced, but bear with me because you're going to see this example a lot in my class, is that I want to do something like, I want to do the same thing, but in a better way. So I want to do sentence, right? Maybe sentence 2 equal. I want to do quotes, right? And then I want to do f in front. So this is called f-strings. And you're going to see that this is much easier to construct a sentence than the way that I've written above. Okay. So first, I want to write, for example, name, like had, money, dot. So I guess I just write something in here first, right? But if I were to do this, as you can guess, like it's gonna just say explicit. It just say exactly what I just wrote, right? Sentence 2, name has money, right? But I don't want name, right? I want this guy win, right? Because this is the variable. This is not the string itself. I want to what's it called, interpolate. I want the program to do interpolation of this thing for me. So what I can do is I can put the curly brace inside. So if I do this, then it's going to do interpolation, meaning that you're going to substitute the name variable with the content of it, so that right now, if I were to run it, I say win has money, right? Because this one I think is more natural, because you cannot write everything in one quote, but then you do interpolation. Same thing, right? I don't want this money. Like this money should be substituted by 10 USD. So I'm going to put the curly brace in here. And now I can do it. Voila. Much cooler. Like, I think all the language should have this feature in certain extents, especially the higher level language. Not sure about like C ภาษา C มีอย่างนี้ไหมทำอย่างนี้ได้ไหม interpolate string interpolation อย่างนี้ได้ไหมได้เนอะ Okay. Yeah, I think so. Print F, no? Okay, yeah, it's print F in certain languages. Okay, so with this, I think you can do something even cooler. Let me show you this, right? So let me change into, maybe I don't need this anymore, right? But I'll change this into number, right? This can be 10, right? And I can write something like this. I can write USD in front, right? It's just going to do the same thing, right? Right? Bear with me, right? This one is the same, but I just changed the money type into a number, right? But see, I also have more flexibility in displaying the number because I can do this, colon, f 2.1. What does this mean? Let's see. Voila, it's error because it's actually 2.1 f. Yeah, you see that? So what I tell the system, what this means is that interpolate this variable, but then in this format. This format is called floating number. F is called floating. Floating ก็คือตัวที่มีทศนิยม Floating is like decimal number. But then you can also specify how much space you want and how many decimal you want. So 2.1 is actually I need 2 space reserved for my floating numbers and I want 1 digit. So this is really cool because you're gonna see that like when you, for example, like print out accuracy, like you do some machine learning, and then they're gonna print out like 16-digit number, which is too long. You can control how the number is printed by using this string interpolation with the format itself in the F string. So I use this all the time because it's so powerful and it's so short, right? Okay, let me show you more, okay? If I were to do 2.2, right, for example, maybe I should give more space, like 10.2. Then you're going to see that my string is quite long. See? I do 10 space with 2 decimal places. So I can do something crazy like 32.16. It's going to give me really, really large number. I mean, not large number, but a lot of space with a lot of digits. Yeah? Pretty cool? Yeah. So looking, I mean, you don't need to know this right now. But I use this all the time, so you're going to get used to them. What should I call it? Yeah, that's good.โอเคไหมครับมีอะไรกดแล้วเออร์เรอร์ไหมให้ผมดูได้นะ เพราะว่าการเออร์เรอร์คือการเรียนรู้นะครับจริงๆผมเออร์เรอร์มาทั้งชีวิตนะครับอันนี้ต้องเป็น number ครับต้องเป็น10ที่ไม่มีโค้ดครับมันต้องเป็น number มันถ้าเกิดเราจะเขียน f เราต้องรันมันด้วย1ทีด้วยนะไม่ต้องรันอันนี้ด้วยแล้วก็รันอันล่างด้วยครับต้องเป็น number your friend your classmate just found I guess a good error because it kind of enforcing the what's it called the type variable in the code. So your classmate did this. See the difference? There's a difference between this 10 and this 10. Okay? Okay, let's see if I do this, what happened, right? I'm going to run everything again. See, that's an error. Let's try to read the error. The error says that there is the format code F. So I say this guy right here. So if you write this format code, that means that it's going to format the number into the floating decimal, right? But then what you give the computer, the language, it's actually a string. So it doesn't know how to turn this string into a floating number. Even though for us, it makes sense, but for computer, it doesn't make sense to turn string into floating number, okay? Even though it's 10. So that's why this one doesn't work, okay? It gotta be 10. So this is a good error because it's enforcing what I'm gonna teach right after this is that there's a type that you gotta be aware and that's gonna sometimes throw you off in a really headache inducing way, okay? For example, if I were to do 1, maybe just do A equal 10, right? B equal 20. You can write A plus B, very easy. It should work, right? Like that, 30, okay? But if you were to do this, yeah, why don't you try it? Do you see the error? You should be able to see the error, right? Same thing, same concept, right? Let's try to understand the error. So the unsupport operands ก็คือ operator ก็คือการบวก The operand is addition. So you cannot add number and string together. It doesn't understand. Even though for us, makes perfect sense. But for the computer, it doesn't make sense, okay? So if you want to fix this, there are many ways, but an easier way is actually to just fix this, right? But if is not what you want, is that something that you cannot control, you can do this, str. So if you do str of a string that contains number, sorry, not string, int. So if you do int and then parenthesis over the string that contains number, it will do what we actually do in our brain automatically, like convert the string into number. So verify with me that this one works. Yes? Yeah, it works. Okay? Or I want you to do another one. Print. But this time, remember that A plus B doesn't work, right? But I want to do the other way. I want to convert this guy into string. You can do that too. So let's do it and see what happens. This. See the difference? I mean, it's going to be different, but do you understand why it happened like that? Yeah, and then, yeah, it works, but then it gives you 1020. You know why it gives you 1020? Yeah, because you remember this is the data type string, right? Right now, these are string concatenation ต่อ string. So then you got 10 concatenate with 20. That's why it's 1020. Like, I think this bug actually can manifest itself in larger programs and give the headache inducing for the software developer. If you're not careful about type, you see it's gonna break the whole program. If something print like this, when you mean to be 30. So be wary about the data type, okay? Okay, the rest is okay. Another thing that you need to know is that if I have, okay, you guys okay with this concept? If you're confused why I got 1020, you can stop me. งงไหมทำอะไรกันนะครับงงตรงว่าทำไมมันโลจิกมันไม่เหมือนกันกับตัวปรินท์ข้างบนนะที่ว่าจริงอยู่ว่า B มันคือ string แล้วเรา convert เป็นอะไร integer แล้วตัวปรินท์ตัวที่สองทำไมหลักการมันต่างกันso okay all right so let me show you this okay so your friend was asking like what happened in like what's the difference between these two operations because it's the addition, but then the result is different, right? So let me show you this. If I do 10 plus 10, 20, that's fine, right? I can do 10 plus 10. What do you think is going to happen? I get 10, 10. Then actually the result is a string. So there is something that you kind of need to understand, because this 1020, even though it's printing like this is string. This 30 is actually a number. So the print statement is actually quite, I guess, it prints a pretty version of the data, but it's not revealing what the data is. So this is string itself. It's not number, right? So if you have this number, I think this string, you cannot add with another number. It doesn't work because this is string, like that. So behind the scenes it's like this. อันนี้ตอบคำถามไหมครับตอบนะโอเคครับ Alright, so moving on, I guess nobody stops me. Okay, another thing is that I want this one right here. I don't want to type, but so I'm just copy it from here. Oh, I forgot to tell you that there are special characters that you might want to use in the future. So if I print a string, right, and then things get too long, I want to create a new line, you can do /n. And then another thing. So this thing looks like this thing, the computer kind of knows that there is a special characters in here. It's called forward. Maybe let me make sure. Actually, I got it backward. It's actually backward, /n right here. So even though this is in one line, the computer kind of know that this /n is the line break. Line break is line breaking, going to the new line. So what it's going to print out is actually 2 lines. So I guess if you see this in the future, just be aware that there are some special characters that the computer recognizes, but sometimes you don't see it because it's too cluttered, right? Another thing that you can play around with is /t. That's called tab. So I can do this, /t. And if I print it out, see the first line, it has tab. So that's another special character that you can use to format your output. Okay, you can try. Okay, right? You'll see this from time to time. I use them sparingly because I guess the way that I always do is actually I don't use line break. I just do this. It's like for me, it makes more sense. If I were to do 2 lines, I'm just gonna print 2 times. That's all. Like I don't do special character because it's kind of confusing. Like I can do 2 lines. That's all. You can print 2 times, right? Okay. Next, I want to use this one right here. This guy right here. It's called the substring. I guess how to access substring. Okay. So I have. I think this one is too cluttered. I'm just gonna delete everything so that I only have this one. And restart the kernel. Okay. So I'm going to run everything, and you can see that right now I have name with a very long string containing characters, right? Alphabets, right? Okay, say I want to access just parts of it, right? Let's say I want ABC. What do I do? The way that I do is that I do name. First, let me show you this. If I want to access A, it's called substring. I have to do this notation. I think it's square brackets, right? And inside the square brackets, you have to give them index, ดัชนี ตัวดัชนี index. So if I want the first letter, I do 0. If I do this, I get A. Okay? So this is something that might not be too, I guess, natural for us, because when we count things, we count from 1. But in most language nowadays, they count from 0. So if the index is 0, that means it's the first item in all of the things that have multiple things inside. You're going to see the same thing with array, with the list and everything from now on. The first item is always going to be index 0. I think nowadays I only saw one language with the index starting from 1, and actually people complain a lot. Like nowadays it's always start from 0. Okay? So this is going to be quite unnatural for you guys at first if you've never done programming before, like modern programming before. And of course you can guess if I put 1s in here. 1 is not the first item. 1 is the second item. It's B. Okay, so better get used to it now. Okay? C มันก็เป็นเริ่มจาก0ใช่ไหมครับเหมือนกันใช่Okay, but one of the things that might be kind of strange is that you can also do negative number. So let's try -1 and see what happens. Yeah? -1 is the last item. ภาษา C มีป่าวะไม่นะเขียน-1ได้ไหมไม่ได้จะไม่เข้าใจ Okay. Yeah, so I don't think -1 is that common. You can even try -2. See what happens. It's the second to last item. And as you can guess, you can do more and more negative number. It's gonna count from the last. Okay? And also, as you can guess, there are, I guess, I don't know, 22 alphabets. ภาษาอังกฤษมันมีตัวอักษรกี่ตัวครับ24 นะ I think that's 24 alphabets, right? If I were to do 24, what do you think will happen? Actually, no. Actually, that's more, right? Actually, there are 25 alphabets, right? No, actually, there are 26 alphabets, right? If I do 26, that gives me error. Okay? So this thing you might see from time to time. So what I'm saying is that I want the 27th item. Because index 26 is actually the 27th item, ตัวที่ 27, which I guess in English alphabets there are 26 English alphabets นะมี 26 ตัวนะครับ so that means that is out of range, right? Clear? So if you try to access something that is not available, then it will be out of range ever. Okay? So that's the thing that you will use all the time, not just for string, but all collections in Python. But then I want to select more than one character. So this one's good. Everybody okay with selecting one thing from the strings? Okay. So now I want to select more things. So let's see. I want ABC. How do I do this? Right. So the syntax is this. I want something until something. Okay. So it's the start index and the ending index that you have to put in, right? So if I want A, I need to start with 0, right? You remember 0 is the first item. So I'm going to start with 0. If I want ABC, right? C is the third item. I should get 2, right? It's a 0 index to the second index, which is the first to the third letter, right? And you can try to see what happens. You don't get that, right? You only get A and B. Why is that? To tell you the truth, I don't know why. And to me, it takes me a long time to get used to this too. But it's the way it is. And it's the way in many languages too. I guess there's probably a historical reason why, but I have no idea, right? But the weird thing about this is that if you were to do this range selection, it's called range selection, it's gonna go from like the first number is the actual thing that you're selecting, but then the second number of the index is gonna be that item, but it's the one next to it. It's the one before. So so I guess the way that you can read is that I'm going to go from the first item, right? 0 is the first item, to the third item, but choose the one before it. So it's going to be the second item. I don't know why this happened. It's kind of weird, right? I guess the most natural way to think about it would be the first to the third item. But the second number, you kind of have to pick the one before it. ก็คือเอาอันที่3แต่ว่าจริงๆแล้วเลือกอันที่2นะเอาก่อนนั้น Okay, so that's why you only get A and B. So make A, B, C happen for me, please. How do you get A, B, C out? Okay, I'm sure everybody probably do something like this. 3, and you got A, B, C. So yeah, it's kind of weird, right? You go from index 0, which is the first item, to the index 3, which is the fourth item, but you pick the one before it. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Other people has a way to read this differently. You can look into internet and type like why do you have to pick the one before it, and then there are people come up with a way to kind of internalize this. But for me, I just think about picking the one before it. So you can also even do this right here, that one. This one was saying that just pick the first guy until the last guy. If you don't put any number here, it's first to last, so you get everything. If you were to do maybe 2, what's going to happen? You can try. You don't have to internalize it yet, but just be aware that it can be quite confusing to select this. But for me, when I read this, I'm going to pick from the third guy, because index 2 is the third guy, until the end. So I get C until the end. Okay, so that's something I use a lot, because sometimes I don't care. I don't know what's the end, right? I just want to pick everything until the end. Another way you can do is that you can do from the beginning till whatever you want. For example, I can do this. That looks weird, right? But it works. Okay? If I were to do this, I want to have this guy right here. Does it look weird? So if I don't have anything from the beginning, right? If the beginning is blank, that means that I want the beginning. Sorry. If I don't have a number on the left side of the colon, that means I want the beginning, right? So I got A until -1. So -1 means that it's the last guy. But then remember, anything on the right side of the colon, you're going to have to pick the guy before it. So that's why, even though I write -1 for the index, it means the last item, you're going to have to pick the one before the last item. So that's why you don't have Z. Yeah, it's confusing, I know. Yeah. Even for me, sometimes still throw me off. It's like every time I get confused, I come back at this and I test myself in my little prototype code before I actually put into the real code. So it still throws me off from time to time, even if I work for it for a long time. So I don't expect you to get comfortable like right away, but just be aware that this thing can become, can cause some, I guess, hard to find bugs in your code if you're not aware of it. Okay. Another thing is that, as you will see later on, when we think about variable, like all of this variable, actually integer, string, it's actually not the variable, but it's called a class instance. Okay, I will come back to the concept of class instance later on, But for now, all you need to know is that actually when you use any data in Python language, they are actually, you can think about it as an entity that can do some action. For example, when you type string, the string have action that it can do, almost like its own, your data is your own entity, like it has a living entity and it can perform some action. So let me show you this. If I have a string, right, say lower, like this is a string, right? This is not just data. This is actually a class instance. That means it has action. So I can do dot. When you do dot, you are accessing its action. What I want to do is to do upper. Upper is the action that the string, which is a class instance, can do. But this is the action, so if you want to call the action, you have to use like that. We'll come back to this later on. Behind the scene, if you know programming, this is function. You are triggering functions that are attached to the class instance. Okay, if this doesn't make sense to you, that's okay, right? We're gonna come back later. But I just want to let you know that all of the data type in Python is actually class instance. This is called the object-oriented programming. You might heard of the word OOP. This is one of them. So everything has action, okay? Like that, okay? So for example, usually we don't do, this is not the best way to do, because if you were to do this, why don't you just do that, right? Does that make sense, right? But then what's going to happen is actually like this. A equal lower, right? But then you might want to print A that is upper, like that. So that's what happened that's what usually happens. So you put the string inside a variable, and sometimes you might want to transform the string in certain ways. Then you can use this kind of a class instance action notation. The formal terminology is called method. It's class method. It's the class methods. Okay, and there are a couple ones that I can show you right now. Kind of self-explanatory. For example, I have upper. This can go to lower, right? Right? So that one works. Okay. So maybe I'll just write something like this for you to see it all, okay? Yeah. So I can do A equal lower in the lower case, but I can print A upper. Or I can have A in uppercase and I print A lower, something like that, right? Or another thing that I use a lot is actually this. Sometimes you have strings that have space in front, clean, right? Like that. And you want to strip all the, prepending space and then the trailing space away. What I can do is I can print A dot stripped. Strip is just stripping all the trailing and then the prepending space in front. So if I have to do this, then it's kind of clean. Let me show you if I don't print the strips, right? You can see that it's not clean because it has lots of space in front. Okay. Actually, I don't really follow my example that much anymore. So, yeah. So actually number also has methods too. I don't use number method that much, but I can try just for the sake of trying, okay? If I do 10 dot, what do I have? What else do I have? No suggestion, thank you. 10.0 to, I don't remember, to string. No, that's JavaScript. Okay, number has methods too, but I usually don't use them because there's nothing I want to do with number. Like string, usually I like this one, strip, it's like really useful. So because when you take input from like users, sometimes there's like trailing and leading space. So, okay, next up we have number, we have strings. The next one that used a lot is Boolean. Okay, so let me show you this. If I were to write, let me just delete everything. Okay, and then restart. If I were to write x equal 1, nothing, this is creating the container with the value of 1, right? But if I were to do this, x equal 1, what happened? You can try and see what happened. Right? If I were to run it, it's what it's returning, it's actually true. Which is true, right? I just set x equal 1. And this one, when you see something like this is not assignment, this is questions. This is you simply asking the program, is x equal 1 or not? And if you ask them like that, the answer is yes or no. And in this case, it's true or false, right? I can ask them again, is x equal 2? No, it's false, right? The true and false is what's called Boolean. Boolean is the type of data that only contain two things. True, it can either be true or false, that's all, okay? And the way that you construct Boolean is that usually it comes from asking questions like that, right? You can even asking like a really dumb question like this, is 1 equal to? You can do that too, right? Of course, it doesn't equal, right? Or you can do, is 2 equal to? Yeah, true, okay? But nobody do this. This one, like, there's no point, right? Usually you want to ask if this variable equal to 2 or not, and you do some logics after that. That's what you usually do, okay? There is nothing to prevent you from asking other questions. For example, is x not equal to 2? And the answer is yes, because x is equal to 1. So x does not equal to 2. So that is true, okay? You can ask, and I mean, I guess the conventional logical operators should work, not logical, but conventional operator like greater than also work. Is x greater than 2? No, right? Should be false. Is x equal or greater than 1? See? มากกว่าหรือเท่ากับ works? Yes. Okay? And you can do less than, right? And less than or equal. Something like that. Okay? So the operator that you learn in mathematics works. Okay? And you can even ask multiple questions together. For example, let me say y equal to 10. I'm going to ask two questions together. For example, is x equal 1 and y equal 10? This is a valid expression. It's going to be true. You remember? This is called the logical operators, meaning you're going to operate the logic together. If you have and, if true and true gives true. If anything is false, it gives false. You can also do or. For example, if x equal 1 and y equal 9, then it's going to be false, right? But then if you do or means that if either side is true, the answer is going to be true. So this is true. Okay? Like in mathematics, logics. the thing I like about Python is that they try to make it like English. Like insert in other language, and would be like ampersand. This is ampersand like that. In C มันอย่างงี้เนาะประมาณเนี้ยเนาะ and or should be something like that. This is or in other language. Like doesn't make sense, right? But in Python it's like and. There's nothing easier than that. So Python is something it's quite I guess beginner friendly for most people. You guys good? Okay, and lastly, there is nothing to prevent you from just setting a variable to have Boolean content. I can have like C equal true. But keep in mind that this one is a keyword. That means that you gotta start with the capital T. If you do the lowercase t, it doesn't work. This one, it doesn't know what it is. You gotta start with the big T. And that is the Boolean data type. So if I were to run this and I go back to my variables, you should be able to see that I have Z, and then the type is bool, stand for Boolean, and then the value is true. Okay, and same thing, you can do Z equal false with the capital F. So yes. Yes, yes. The lowercase does not work. This one, it doesn't understand. So this one is quite different from other language. Other language doesn't do capitalized keyword like this. This one, yeah, it's there's always a quirk in every language that you gotta have to know. But the editor is actually smart enough to warn you. For example, right? If I were to type false with the lowercase f, then the editor actually knows that I'm making mistakes, and actually it also gives me some error message too. Like false is not defined, because if it's not the capital F, it's got to be a variable. You got to define it somewhere beforehand. And if you didn't, then it knows that there's something wrong. So usually warn you before. So very good. I'm gonna end this and move on to the next chapter. I think I should give you maybe like quick 5-minute breaks before we go to another one. Okay.